Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tornado himself, Tony Pentagon.
And psychic Tom Paget with a brand new crystal ball this week. Brand new.
Oh, went to Walmart. You got one with inflation prices. That must have been expensive. Anyway.
Could you tell me if we're going to resolve this before I made all my changes?
Now, today's a special day because it's a very special birthday of a man we all know and love. I cannot believe how old he is. 82 years old, Chuck Norris. And I'm just going to spit out going to have to spit out a couple Chuck Norris jokes for everybody, just in honor of his birthday before we get really started on the fight stuff. But, there's a lot of jokes about Chuck Norris. They say that he does not do traditional push-ups. When he does push-ups, he pushes the world down. And he also...
Well, what I heard, Rich...
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard that Chuck Norris built the hospital he was born in.
I heard he counted to infinity 3 times.
I heard Chuck Norris actually died about 12 years ago, but the Grim Reaper's too afraid to tell him.
In honor of his birthday...
You know he has a bearskin rug. He has a grizzly bear rug in his basement. The bear's not dead, it's just afraid to move.
In honor of his birthday, he...
Yeah, I heard he got quite a lesson. I heard he had quite a lesson about the uselessness of Tapia when he tried to go up against Jiu-Jitsu. So, I think he's human.
In honor of his birthday, he slammed a revolving door. Chuck Norris sleeps with a nightlight, not because Chuck Norris is afraid of the dark, but the dark is afraid of Chuck Norris.
What was the other one? It's the boogeyman checks under his bed for Chuck Norris at night.
All right, that's enough of that. We got some more serious...
Never enough Chuck Norris jokes.
Serious stuff to talk about. Some true crime. Unfortunately, there's another death in boxing. The guy went into a coma right after his fight. We're going to talk about that eventually. But the big one surrounds one of our most listened to interviews of all time. I did not juke the results or anything, but we ended up getting like... I want to say 20 or 50,000 listens. This one episode where we interviewed Hector Camacho Jr. the week his father was murdered.
And that was shortly after his father's death, right?
Yes, it was like the week after. And I think it was, he had like a couple press releases put out about the interview. It was like one of the first times we had press releases put out by somebody else about an interview we were doing, and so it got linked to that, and then boom, rest is history. But we also really got into the details with him, so I'm sure like there was a little bit of a viral aspect to it because I think we did a really good interview with him. But anyway, the reason I mention it is 5 people were charged with the 2012 murder Wednesday, and some of them were already in custody, but other ones, they got all the way down in Mexico with one guy, I think. Anyway, he was shot in the face while sitting in a Ford Mustang outside a bar in Bayamon, Puerto Rico when it happened. Bullet traveled through the left side of his face and fractured his vertebrae. He was rushed to a hospital but died 4 days later, 50 years old. The guy that was with him was killed on the spot and discovered to have 9 bags of cocaine in his pocket, while a 10th was found open in the car. 3 of the 5 suspects, go figure, Jesus Naranjo Adorno, 35, Joshua Mendez Romero, 30, and William Rodriguez were extradited to Puerto Rico from a prison in Orlando, Florida, where they were serving time for unrelated crimes. A fourth suspect, Luis Ayala Garcia, 31, remains imprisoned in a Puerto Rican jail for a previous offense, and a fifth suspect, Juan Figueroa Rivera, was arrested at his home in Bein, the same city where Camacho was born and killed. So, yeah. They got some heavy bonds, and they don't know the motive behind the killing, or at least the prosecutor's not telling us yet. But Camacho's mother, Maria, said, "They gave me justice. I can sleep in peace. I can eat and drink a little cup of coffee in the morning." So Camacho is having his murder avenged here. Hopefully, justice will prevail. Keep an eye on that. Anyway, there's another tragedy in boxing with Tito, a fighter, just fell into a coma following the loss.
An Indonesian fighter, I heard. What was it? Tito, maybe?
Tito is his name. It was in Indonesia, and he got knocked out by a right uppercut in round 7. Tried to recover, got to his feet, fell down again unconscious. He was in a coma for several days, then was pronounced dead on March 9th. So he's behind a wife and 2 daughters.
I was reading something maybe years ago, because we were doing the show, and I know I brought this up on the show, so it had to be maybe 10, 11 years ago. And the one thing they were discussing was there's always a high number of fighter deaths in the Indonesian population.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it's, because I don't, so to bring up another topic, a fighter death that happened back, I think it was in the late 70s, maybe early 80s, was a Welsh fighter named Johnny Owen. And he was a good fighter. He was in a world title fight, and he got knocked out, and he died later, in a coma. And they said he had an abnormally thin skull, and which obviously lessened the protection around his brain. And I don't know, maybe that's the same case with the genetic makeup of these people that are from the Indonesia area, that a lot of them maybe have that, genetic, where their skulls are not as thick as other, nationalities.
Possible. Very possible. His real name was Atru, Atru. It's an odd one. Hold on. Atru. Come on. Just had it. I guess they did call him Hero. The Lion. Atru, Heru Purwanto, Purwanto. He was 35 years old. Yikes. And I don't know about the skull. Maybe it's just their facial features. There's probably less skin and fat between the skull and the temple area, So maybe it's just that. That might be a good point, but I don't know. Could just be they're just lighter weight, and the body type too. A lot of upper body strength, so they tend to knock each other out and hurt each other a little bit more than other fighters. Who knows? But yeah, that's just unfortunate. He had been stopped just 6 times in his career, fought 3 times in 2021, including an upset majority decision win. And that's the other thing too, like in those weight classes, these fights tend to go the distance. And they're probably like some of these Asian and foreign countries, they're probably one of the only areas where fighters still have 50 and 60 fights in their career, and they're expected to. Even if it's just against a pushover, that's just a lot of fights. so I don't know what the situation with him was, what his bull record was. But anyway, that's a sad one. Paige VanZant in the news. Signed a deal with AEW. Big surprise. Not going to do the bare knuckle stuff anymore, I guess. I had not heard of her being interested in wrestling, but no, it's not really a surprise. September, she debuted in AEW with teammates from American Top Team, including gym owner Dan Lambert, UFC star Jorge Masvidal, and former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos. As part of a storyline with pro wrestling legend Chris Jericho. So yeah, it's not a huge surprise. She's making more money off Instagram and stuff and her social media these days than she does in all these other sports contracts. But this is not a surprise. It's a little bit of athletics, a little bit of acting. She can save her face from getting broken up and her nose broken and all that stuff. Barring some freak accident in the wrestling ring, of course. So we'll see how she does there. All right. Big talk this week. I heard of another super fight between a UFC fighter and a boxer. You heard this? Kamaru Usman and Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, Usman thinks he could knock him out. I mean, where did this come from?
What's weirder is Usman thinks Dana White's going to promote it.
Well, right. You look at it this way. Why would Canelo have any interest in a circus like that? I mean, with all the money he makes, Canelo, love him or hate him, he's the number one draw in boxing right now. I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely.
So what is his motive?
I don't know. It seems like...
Is it an exhibition?
It seems like maybe he's been talking to Francis and they're trying to hype up their own destiny here and make it a package deal. Because, I mean, that would be like... they just had that triad combat thing with a theme of MMA fighters versus boxers. And this would be like the main event of that, having Ngannou versus Tyson Fury and Canelo versus Usman on the same card. You get a couple other themed fights like that. That would sell some tickets. That would just be the freak show factor would be through the roof. So, yeah, that's just one of those. It was basically, though, mostly just Usman claiming it was going to happen, which was odd. There's like news reports on this, and it's just Usman saying that it's going to happen, saying that he has not even talked to the UFC, but he's pretty confident that Dana's going to promote it. Like, what is going on? Did you get hit in the head today in sparring? I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't think he's going to end up with that fight. Canelo's got people lining up. But they're trying to possibly cancel his fight with Bivol because of his Russian ties. So, talk about cancel culture. Going a little too far there. I don't know. Crazy stuff. Alright, so last week, and we had, let's see, what were the big ones? Saturday the 5th. Roman Gonzalez beating Julio Cesar Martinez. Vaganek Tamrazian over Dante Jordan. I don't think we talked about that one last week. Friday night we had Gabriel Flores Jr. beating Abraham Montoya. Joet Gonzalez over Gio Santisma. Jose Carlos Ramirez over Jose Pedraza. Let's see what's coming up this weekend. Saturday the 12th. According to BoxRec, there's only one important fight on the 12th. One. Lee Wood and Michael Conlon. That's it. No need to talk about any Jesus Fight of the Week, Mystery Week, nothing. I beg to differ. Let's see. Vegas Fight of the Week. Ukrainians are doing pretty good in their Fight of the Week. Boy, they are Russia. See that footage of the tank ambush today?
I did not, but how'd that go?
Oh, beautiful. They were, trying to move the convoy of tanks into closer to the city, the capital. Boom, tanks on either end blow up, and ended up killing the commander of the unit, the general, who was going out there to improve morale by showing them, hey, I'm out there with you. He gets killed. It's kind of funny, like, what these situations do to us as people. You watch these things, right? So, case in point, I'm watching a YouTube video today of a fucking Komodo dragon, almost the size of a small horse, taking down a deer. And it's like slow and painful for the deer. Yeah, on Facebook. On like a group thing that somebody shared. So I'm like thinking to myself for a few minutes, like, man, this is brutal. Like, I can't believe they leave this on Facebook. Then I'm like thinking, at the same time, I'm cheering left and right for like all these Russian guys getting killed over in the war. But I'm feeling bad for an animal. Like, there's a meme in that somewhere, I think. But yeah, the duality of war. Like, what was that? Full Metal Jacket, where he's got a Born to Kill and a peace symbol on his helmet.
Right.
Duality of war. It's crazy though. The Russians are getting hit from all angles, and so are we as far as inflation, unfortunately. I paid $5 for a gallon of premium gas today to run my chainsaws. $5
Wow.
for 1 gallon.
Wow and ow.
Yep. It's not even the worst out here. California has the worst troubles, which I always had a trouble understanding why that is. Are there no oil rigs off the coast of California anywhere?
Lots of environmental regulations.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
But people can
Bingo.
shit on the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, that's
San Francisco, right?
that's why wokeness is a mental illness.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Panama. We got some boxing in Panama. Main event, lightweights, Jezreel Corrales, 25-4, and Miguel Medueno, who's undefeated, 27-0. Featherweights in the co-main event, Anselmo Moreno, 40-6, fighting Gustavo Pina Melgar, who's 10-3-2. And John Gonzalez, super welterweight, 29-1, fighting Elvin Gambarov, also undefeated, 16-0. Bantamweights, Liborio Solis, 32-6-1, fighting Alejandro Jair Gonzalez, who's 10-3-2. That's a stacked card. And we got fights in the Philippines with some titles on the line. Minimal titles, but super featherweight, Charlie Suarez, 9-0, fighting Tom June Mangubat, who is 15-2-1 for the vacant WBA Asia super featherweight title. Then we got super bantamweights, Carl James Martin, 18-0, fighting Ronnie Baldonado, who is 15-2-1. This one's for the Philippine Games and Amusement Board super bantamweight title, and the vacant WBA Asia super bantamweight title. But that's my favorite title name of all time. The Philippine Games and Amusement Board. Like, where did you get that out of? A fucking coin-op game or what? It's only for their amusement. Anyway. Oh. How about this for a fight? Jake McGinnis. He is, Greg McGinnis. He's 3-0 at lightweight. Fighting Lee Connolly. Looking for a 72nd loss. He is 71 and 6. 71 and 6. Not to be outdone by Mr. Ali, who's being opponented against Charlie Martin Stewart, who's 2-0 in the United Kingdom. Naeem Ali, his record is 2-80-1. 2 wins, 80 losses, 1 draw.
Woo!
But this one could be a tight one. Way down on the same card, we've got the 0-1 Fazan Shahid at bantamweight, fighting the fearsome Jake Pollard, who is 0-31. 31 straight losses.
You know, you can't even. If that was 1-31, that would be, at least you could always give him a pep talk. Remember, kid, on that night you had it. What do you tell a guy like that? Wow. Never. I wonder if. Well, you could tell him maybe if he went the distance, he got robbed.
Right. And here's the big one that BoxRec says is the biggest of the weekend. It's going to be on DAZN. That's probably why they have it there. But Lee Wood, he's 25-2 at featherweight, fighting Michael Conlon, who's 16-0 for the WBA World Featherweight title. And then we got lightweights Gary Cully, 13-0 against Miguel Vasquez, who is 44-10. That's a record. And we got a female title, the vacant WBA Intercontinental Female Lightweight title. Terry Harper, 11-1-1, and Yamila Belin Abelanada. She's 13-4-1. Then the WBO International Middleweight title here. Chalmin Aguiarco, 10-0, against Juan Carlos Rubio, who is 18-1. Good stuff. That's in United Kingdom. J.D. Burns and Josh Burns fighting on the same card. Our former guest is fighting in Tampa, Florida on the same card at super welterweight, Erin Tuffill. 0-1. Like last year. Fighting Sonia Dreiling, making her debut. So Erin obviously doesn't have a lot of boxing match fights. She does more MMA stuff. Good luck to her. And in Philadelphia at the Live Casino, we got fights this weekend. I don't know if he's a member of the
that's
famous
where I was 2 weeks ago.
Tapia family, but Christian Tapia, 13-0 at super featherweight, fighting Luis Lebron.
12 knockouts, too.
18 all knockouts. Luis Lebron.
I think there's 12 knockouts. 12 knockouts and 13 wins.
Wow. And this one's for a title, WBC Continental America's super featherweight title. Is Christian related to the Johnny Tapia family?
Not that I know of. If he was, I'm sure they would,
Hype it
play
up.
that up.
Yeah. That's just a well-known fighting name. Let's see. That's pretty much the only good one on that card. The co-main event is Brandon Pizarro, 16-1-1 at welterweight, and Vitor Jones, who is 16-6. Here's to somebody who's got to go fight, and I believe we've had his uncle on the show before. One of the main eventers here, featherweight Jonathan Javier Fierro, 12-0, fighting. Oh, this is a double. Somebody's always got to go fight. Wait till you hear the next one too. Okay, so Jonathan Javier Fierro, 12-0, fighting Daniel Bailey, who's 10-0. And he is the nephew of another Bailey that we had on the show years and years and years ago. What do they call him? Beetle Bailey? It's all. But famous for one of the most amazing knockouts, and it was against another former guest of ours, El Gato. Just blew him away. Ridiculous. But anyway.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
He hit him with that right hand, damn near killed him.
Yeah. And he got a title out of it, and then I think he fought like 2 or 3 times after that. But not much. That was it. And so the co-main event on this
I'll tell you, man, Randall Bailey was punched.
Randall Bailey, yeah, that's the one. I was drawing a blank on the first name, but that boxing Rain Man came in, saved me.
I saw him fight live up on a Bernard Hopkins undercard in Reading, PA, like 20 years ago. And he hit this guy. It was funny how this works out. Tom, you get a kick out of this. It was a split HBO card. So Bernard Hopkins was going to fight in Reading, PA, about an hour outside of Philly, and he was going to break the record. He had tied the title defense middleweight record against Tito Trinidad a few months prior. Now he was going to break the record for most successful defenses. Then afterward, they were going to, Roy Jones was going to fight down in like Tampa, Florida, or wherever, and they were going to because they were trying to match them up for a fight, which didn't happen for about another, almost 10 years. So the Hopkins fight's going to be first at 9 o'clock, then the Jones fight's going to be at 10. So they have all the undercard fights, which includes a Randall Bailey fight. And Randall could punch. He could punch like lights out. So he's fighting this tough kid. I forget his name. But Randall hits him with a right hand in about the second or third round, and he knocks him out cold. I mean, scary out cold. And this Colombian guy's on the ground. He's not moving. So, fight's over. A few minutes later, they revive the guy. They get him out of the ring. Now, that was the last undercard fight. And the HBO broadcast is not going to start for about almost an hour. Like an hour-long intermission, waiting for this HBO card to start. So, we're up in the chief seats, and my friend goes, yo, let's go down and see if we can meet George Foreman. Now, my friend, he looks like a choir boy. He looked younger than me, and just so innocent looking, and just someone you'd like. He knocks on your door, you invite him right in. I knock on your door, you're getting a shotgun. So I'm like, yeah, right, yeah. So he had like a ticket he had something from the fight tonight. I forget if it was his ticket or something he picked up off the ground. He walks down and they had like where the arena, then you'd have to get onto the floor for where the ring was. He goes right over a section with no security, hops over the guardrail, walks up to George Foreman, hands him this whatever, and George signs it. He comes back to where we are. He's like, yo, Toad, check this out. I went down and met George Foreman. You got to go down too and get his autograph. I said, okay. So I walk down to this same section where he hopped the guardrail. I go to hop the guardrail. 5 security guards like converge out of like nowhere. They all go, where do you think you're going? I said, I'm going to meet George Foreman. No, you're not. No, absolutely not. But look, while they all converged and left their posts, he walked over to one of the posts they just left, hopped it again, and they're waving at me. Wow. That was like one time when we were at a bar, I was there with about 4 or 5 friends. I think he was that same guy, I think, was there that night. And, we're all hanging out and having a good time, but we've been drinking for a while. And I was in the one room listening to the band. My other friend, was playing pool with these other guys, didn't know him. And they were starting to bicker a little bit and mouth off, and then it was starting to get a little tense. I don't know, none of this is going on. So we're about to leave, and my one friend goes, I'm going to go to the restroom real quick. He goes into the restroom, and these other guys follow him in there, and they rough him up a little bit. So we're outside waiting for him, and he comes out, and he's like, you can tell he was disheveled. He goes, those guys just jumping in the bathroom. They didn't hit him. They were just like, roughing him up. And everybody's like, no, man, let's forget it. I'm like, let's go back in. 2-on-2. I have no problem. So we walk in, me and him. We confront the two guys that started the issue. The guy falls down. His buddy steps up. I step in. 4 bouncers appear out of nowhere. 3 of them grab me. I didn't hit nobody. 3 bouncers grab me. 1 bouncer steps in between the other 3 guys. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Well, they knew who I was. I mean, I only lived 2 miles away. So they all knew me. I was like, I didn't hit nobody. They're like, we don't care, Tony. We know who you are. And we know what's going to happen. I always, end up in idiotic things like that. But the thing is, it's like, if you have a self-depreciating sense of humor, which I do, thankfully, I can make these things funny and we can all laugh at me.
Alrighty.
All because we were talking about Randall Bailey.
Right, and we can't let a week go by without the Jesus fight of the week, and that's the co-main event. The Daniel Bailey fight, and Jesus has a great record. He is 10-0 with 9 knockouts at lightweight. From Mexico, no surprise, Jesus Siracho was born with 4 names. First name, they got it on BoxRec. Jesus Eduardo Siracho Zuniga. You know what I say about Mexicans with 4 names. It's like a 90% chance one of them's Jesus. Deontay Brown is his opponent. 14-0 is Deontay's record. Let me just click right on it. I'm going to tell you how many knockouts he's got. Probably not as many as Jesus. Oh boy, he's got more than Jesus. 14-0 with 10 knockouts. Marietta, Georgia. He's not really fought anybody Jesus' caliber yet. His last opponent was 11-26. Mostly losing records. All really losing records. How about this? He fought a guy named Dwayne Wisdom, who had the wisdom of 7 wins and 46 losses. 2 draws. Yikes. Alright, so see what happens there, but I'm betting on Jesus. And we got it pretty solid on the money for our analysis last week on the UFC main event, Tom. Your crystal ball did you well.
Yep.
Colby
Yep.
had more of a gas tank. That was really the story of the fight. Had the gas tank and the takedowns. Talk about gas.
Yeah, Jorge just seemed to have no answer for those takedowns. I mean, the second round I thought was close. Maybe give it to Jorge.
Second round was very close.
And the fourth round was quite a scare for Colby, but he just willed his way through it, and well, there you have it. Not the most exciting fight.
Right.
But what both say, though, that favors Colby in a longer fight. The longer it goes, the better. So it played out perfect for him.
Definitely. I mean, Masvidal has his moments, but he pretty much said it at the end of the fight. He just felt flat-footed. And where he did put Colby on one knee, as soon as Colby popped right back up and gave him a half smile, I mean, that just sucked every bit of motivation out of Jorge. He just hit him with his absolute best shot. And his legs were very shaky too. Not just being flat-footed, I think it was just because of the muscles in the thighs and the calves from just getting thrown down to the canvas so many times, having to fight his way back up. It's it can be easy on the legs to kind of like circle around the cage and fire shots, but when you're constantly trying to push the other guy's weight up with your legs, you're going to have that jelly legs feeling, and I think that's what happened to him. It wasn't just he didn't have killer instinct, he just had no energy. He had a lack of cardio, and he had just no muscles to move his legs forward to capitalize on that moment, because Colby just had a real good strategy to go in there and smother him, keep tight, get ground control, and he won a lot of those rounds just by kind of doing the old wrestle fucking thing. So famously described it on one of our episodes that I'll never forget. And I never heard that term, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It kind of reminded me of another guy, Colton Smith, who used to be famous for just being glued to people. He didn't last in the UFC, but Colby has a little bit of the stand-up game too. He was putting it on Jorge at a couple points.
He
elbows.
He certainly was, and then that makes it even a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem to stop those takedowns. If you're worried about the takedowns, you're going to get punched.
Yeah.
So he really put it together.
So really the only thing he's lacking is that real knockout power. I think if he figured out a way to mix in those elbows, not just when he's on the ground and in a dominant position, but like sometimes on the feet, I think they're the most effective. And he doesn't have like huge reach. He's kind of he builds up his muscles for the ladies, not so much for the the reach. The reach can be affected by that, when you've got that where's the beach kind of mentality about weightlifting. So I just think he could take advantage of that by just shortening the distance when he's going in for those takedowns and he gets stuffed. Boom, firing some close elbows. But I mean, for a grudge match with somebody he had to beat, he never looked like he was truly out of control of that fight. Had a close second round, and then that moment in the fourth, and that was really it. But never looked tired either. Just kept coming forward, so obviously that was the difference, I think. And then the co-main event, Rafael Dos Anjos over Renato Carneiro. That was a unanimous decision. Bryce Mitchell.
That was that fight was like an execution. I don't know if you watched it, but RDA was flawless. I mean, he was everything you'd expect a fighter to do: punches, kicks, the takedowns, the takedown defense. I mean, everything. The constant submissions on the ground, the wrestling. I mean, masterpiece performance. A lot of courage for the Brazilian that had to cut weight on a plane. I'd hate that. Boy, I'd hate that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and it was a 5-round fight, which I thought was awful. And I think it should have been stopped after the 4th round, but they let him go on, and he really gave it a battle in round 5. But, well, there you go. But sometimes you got to look at a guy's career. I mean, that was one hell of a beating.
Yeah. I did not get to see it. I fell asleep, I think, after the Kevin Holland fight, I believe, or no, before that. I think it was after the Jalen Turner fight.
You fell asleep.
I fell asleep.
You fell asleep?
I fell asleep on it. And I watched.
You fell asleep? How could you fall asleep with that main event coming? Wow.
I watched that today. I watched the Colby Covington fight today for the first time.
Yeah, today. Okay. We can all see it later. I want to see it now. I want to see it live. Get the adrenaline. Come on.
It was a late one. But actually, I won some money too. I found out in the morning I won 2 of my lineups. I just doubled the money. I didn't get anywhere in the top 100 or anything, but it was good effort. I picked a few of the good ones. Greg Hardy, not surprisingly, got knocked out first round. I had Spivak on one of the winning lineups. I made the stupid mistake, though, of putting Colby and Jorge on the same lineup. And still won. But yeah, it was pretty fair. I mean, when it's a lot of decisions, it's a little bit easier. We had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 decisions on this card. So, and a lot of knockouts too. TKOs right in a row here too. Bryce Mitchell over Edson Barboza was the decision. Then we had Kevin Holland, TKO, and Alex Oliveira. 38 seconds into the second round. I believe that was one of my good picks too. Greg Hardy, I said, got knocked out at heavyweight. Jalen Turner was a little bit of a surprise over Jamie Malarkey. 46 seconds into the second round. Marina Rodriguez over Zhao Nan Yan by split decision. And that one was a little bit of a surprise. Controversy. Nikolay Negumereanu over Kennedy Nchukwu by split decision. Marina Moraes over Mariah Agapova by arm triangle choke. 3 minutes and 27 seconds into the second round there. And another Nurmagomedov winning a fight. Big surprise. Umar over Brian Kelleher. That was a rear naked choke win. 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the fight. Tim Elliott over Tagir Ulanbekov by unanimous decision. And Ludovic Klein over Devontae Smith by split decision. And Dustin Jacoby over Michael Oleszczuk by unanimous decision there. And let's see. We got lots of fights this weekend. Ridiculous amount of fights. Alright. Covington, Masvidal. We got a fight night this weekend for UFC. We've got a Bellator card, and is it tonight? Might be on even tonight. The PFL card. So fight night is Santos versus Ankalaev. Thiago Santos and Magomed Ankalaev. Santos 22-9. Ankalaev is 15-1. I've seen a little bit of both guys. It's hard to go against a guy with just one loss. But Thiago is just proved his game so much. The experience factor there, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. I'm going to say it goes to decision, and I'm going to say that Ankalaev wins it. It's that bear wrestling style. For Mother Russia, though.
And the thing is, how do you fight that guy? Where's his weakness? I mean, even trying to submit him, he seems so strong. His stand-up game is good. His cardio is insane. And his ground game is a beautiful mix of wrestling and submissions. I don't know. He's a nightmare.
Yes, he is.
And you've got to wonder. I mean, I know Oliveira's got to focus on Gaethje, but you've got to wonder what Oliveira was thinking watching that fight. You know.
And the co-main event's pretty nice. Marlon Moraes, 23-9-1 against Yadong Song, 18-6-1 at bantamweight. And it's a little bit of an experience edge for Moraes, but I don't know. Some of the Asian fighters have not done as well. The male ones in particular. Something about, I don't know. Might be a Tony thing. Tony figured it out. It's the skull. They don't have good skulls in certain places. I don't know. But, yeah, there's just been very few that have really made big names for themselves. And it used to be, like, you know, it used to be so much of a bigger scene over in, like, Japan and Korea. You know, these guys have kind of come out of the woodwork here and there, like the Korean stun gun and, yeah, some of these guys. But, yeah, Yadong Song, he's been up and down. We'll see how he does here against Moraes. We've also got Bruce Leroy on this card, and he's up against a very stiff test in Sadiq Yusuf, who is 11-2 at featherweight. Alex Caceres, he's 19-12. Talk about ups and downs. And has really been kept around more for his character than his skills sometimes. He's been parts of some ugly-ass fights. And I've seen him, you know, I haven't watched all of them, but, you know, he's usually on the preliminary card. And, man, he has been in some ugly scraps. But that's one thing about him that I think is another reason they keep him around, is he's just never out of it. He's always very scrappy. He's, like, very slippery. He wiggles his way out of things. He's always trying to get distance, and, you know, he doesn't get knocked out a lot. He's always, like, kind of in the fight. So we'll see if he's still got it. 12th fight of the night. And we got Khalil Roundtree. Good name for a fighter. He's 9-5, fighting Carl Roberson, who's 9-4 at light heavyweight. It could be a knockout, but it could go to distance as well. You never know. 10th fight of the night, Drew Dober, 23-11 at lightweight, fighting Terrence McKinney, who's 12-3. And this might sound like a mismatch on paper, but I'm guessing there's got to be a story to Alex Pereira. So he's 4-1 at middleweight, fighting Bruno Silva, who's 22-6. I don't know. That usually doesn't happen on paper, but maybe Alex Pereira has got a crazy amateur record. And that's at middleweight. And then we got Matthew Semmelsberger, who has won some money for me before. As an $8 selection. It's like one of the cheapest prices you can get a fighter for in a lineup. He is fighting AJ Fletcher, 9-0 at welterweight. I have not heard of him, so I don't know where those 9 wins comes from, but probably lower leagues. We got a female fight here at flyweight. Gonna be a scrap. JJ Aldrich, 10-4 against Jillian Robertson, who is 10-6. We got Trevin Jones, 13-7 at bantamweight, fighting Javid Basharat, who's 11-0. Damon Jackson, 19-4-1 at featherweight, and Camuela Kirk, 12-4. Sabina Mazo in another female fight, 9-3, fighting Miranda Maverick, who is 9-4 at flyweight. We got Cody Brundage, 6-2 against Dalcha Lungiambula, who's 11-3. Chris Mutino, famous for taking that crazy slugfest of a beating against the crazy hair guy. I forget what the hell his name is. Drawing a blank. But anyway, Chris Mutino, 9-5, fighting Guido Canetti this time, 8-6. Not as big a name.
Damn Guidos.
Guidos, yeah. Tafon Nchukwi in the first fight of the night at light heavyweight, 6-1, fighting Azamat Mirzahakhanov, who is 10-0. 10-0. Alright. Then we got Bellator. They like to do their stuff on Saturdays now, too. This one's going to be March 12th. Yep, Saturday again. Showtime now. They figure they're going to compete. Adam Borix in the main event, 17-1, fighting Mads Burnell, who is 16-3. Then we got co-main event of Phil Davis, 23-6, fighting Julius Anglicas, who is 10-2. Middleweights Johnny Eblin, 10-0, and John Salter, 18-5. We got J.J. Wilson, 8-0, fighting Gadzi Rabadanov, who is 16-4-1. Alex Palizzi, 9-1 at light heavyweight, fighting Jose Augusto Azevedo Barros, who's 7-3. Romero Cotton, 5-0, fighting Freddy Sandoval, who's 5-6. At middleweight, flyweights Diana Abzaragova, 4-0, fighting Kyra Batara, who's 8-4. And we got Cody Law, 5-0 at featherweight, fighting James Adcock, who is 7-4. Third fight of the night, Roman Faraldo, 6-0 at welterweight, fighting Kelvin Rayford, who is 5-3. Second fight of the night, Jordan Howard, 10-5, fighting Trevor Ward, who's 6-5. And then Josh Weston, 8-11. The first fight of the night at lightweight, fighting Josh Augustine. I got Josh in that fight. Josh versus Josh. And then Professional Fighters League. There's an event going on tomorrow night. Main event is Reynaldo Exon, 17-5 at featherweight. Cares if I'm using ad blocker. You get these messages now on these websites that say they're like trying to hype you into shutting off your ad blocker because that's how they make their money. It's like, shut up. Ad blocker for my own protection. Alright. Ronaldo Exon, 17-5, and Mike Barnett, 10-3. In the main event at featherweight, and we got this is how they do it. There's usually 4 fights. They're all featherweights, and that's the same thing they're doing here. The third fight of the night, Edwin Cooper Jr., 5-1, fighting Troy Lamson, who's 13-4. And Do Jiom Lee, 8-4, fighting Boston Salmon, 7-3, and I don't know how he's 7-3. He has had a very horrible history in the UFC. Flopped around literally on the floor like a salmon. His first opportunity to prove himself in the UFC. Unreal, but yeah, we'll see how the PFL treats him. First fight of the night, Scotty Stockman, 3-1, fighting Brian Zercher, who is 2-0. I feel bad for the PFL people because they don't really have a lot of big names this year at all. They don't seem to have a very big talent pool. I don't know how that's going to be sustainable. To get eyes on target, you know what I mean? Alright. So that about does it for our roundup. Unless I'm missing something. We covered a lot of ground. From Chuck Norris jokes to
and some
BFL.
You could never go wrong with a Chuck Norris joke. I could do that all night. I didn't really get to see many of the fights over this past weekend. You know, I was trying to watch the Chocolito fight, but long, stressful week kind of had me worn out by Saturday night, and the one prelim wasn't that good, and I was like, I could feel it was just putting me out. I remember my dad yelling at me, "You see that knockout?" I'm like, "No, no, don't bother me." The only knockout I've seen is I want to see the inside of my own eyelids.
Right.
I'm still actually waiting. You know, I leave on Saturday, and I'm supposed to be going until next Friday, but I'm coming home Wednesday because, like I said, the games, now they've signed the deal, the games still won't start until Friday at the earliest, so it was kind of like, why stay down there a couple extra days and spend money? Now, what I am going to do, and this is, I got 2 events coming up in the next month, Tom, and you're going to appreciate both of them, because hopefully you hear them, you're going to say, Tony is the only guy that can pull this off. So event number 1 is Monday in Clearwater. Hulk Hogan's been hosting karaoke at his bar every Monday night, and I'm going to attend. And I pray to God he is there, and not be in like Cleveland, Ohio or somewhere, because I plan to do karaoke with Hulk Hogan while dressed as Hulk Hogan.
If anyone can do it, buddy.
Right.
My money's on you, my brother.
Yeah. And then the following month, now that I'm hopefully going to be able to go to the Phillies home opener, because it looks like it's going to happen now, great, I will then book tickets to go to a Philadelphia Comic-Con. I really don't care about meeting anybody else but one person. That's Carl Weathers. And I'm going to get a picture with Carl Weathers dressed as his most famous character.
Nice.
Wow. By the way, Rich, I forgot to ask you, did you see the photos that I took posted last week at that convention I went to
I don't think so.
with the football players?
I don't think so.
So, Tom, this is another Tonyism coming up right now. Mm-hmm. The one guy that plays for the Eagles, Brandon Graham. Rich, cover your ears. He's the guy that sacked Tom Brady in the and caused the fumble that basically saved the game. So he's from Detroit. So my friend that has the bakery that I go to a lot has been doing a lot of Detroit style pizzas. So he reaches out to Brandon Graham a few months ago and goes, "Hey, because you're from Detroit, I want you to design your own Detroit style pizza." So Brandon Graham does. And anytime you order it, they put a Brandon Graham sticker on the box. And the day of the first game this year, they were debuting it, so I go get one, and they had a big marquee outside, Brandon Graham, Sack 55, Detroit Pizza. So I'm posing with the box in front of this big sign, and Brandon Graham is sharing that picture on his Instagram, which I thought was pretty cool. So now he's going to be at this convention about 20 minutes from my house last week. I couldn't go on Saturday when they had a lot of Phillies players there, like Steve Carlton and Mike Schmidt. I had other obligations. I couldn't go. I wanted to go on Sunday, meet some of the Eagles players. So I'm like, what can I get Brandon Graham to sign? I could bring a picture. I could bring a football. No. Tony is going to stop and get a Brandon Graham pizza on the way, cut the top of the box, and get him to sign the box.
Nice.
So now, my friend that has the bakery, like he's always like scheming and coming up with ideas, and that's what he and I are always thinking outside the box. So a few weeks ago, he goes, "What are you doing March 5th?" I said, "Nothing." He goes, "Keep 5 o'clock open." Why? Trust me. I'm like, okay. Now he's got me interested. So now I'm trying to get hints, and I'm like, well, what theme do you need me in? Do you need me in my Phillies outfit? Do you need me in Eagles attire? Do you need me in something Italian? Do you need me in something boxing related? What do you need? He won't tell me. So a few days later, he calls me and goes, "Hey, listen, it got postponed to March the 12th. I said, "I'm going to be out of town." And he goes, "Oh, you're going to miss it." I said, "What am I going to miss?" "I can't tell you." "Well, I'm not going to be there, so you can tell me." "No, I can't." "Okay." So I have an idea. So I get this box, and I cut the top of it. I get my ticket. I go up for the photo op first. I said, "Listen," I went and got these on the way, and he sees the box with his sticker on it, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to be there on March 12th. I'm like, "I knew it was you that was going to be there. I knew it was you." Mm-hmm. So we took a photo, and we held the box up, and I sent it to my buddy. I said, "Oh, look who I met today." He goes, "No, you didn't." I said, "Yes, I did." He goes, "You brought the box?" I said, "Uh-huh," and got him to sign it. So, I thought that was pretty cool. So then, as I'm going to leave, I got the one guy I wanted to see, and it was so crowded, pain in the ass, and it wasn't cheap, but, it was worth it. And as I'm walking out, the one Eagles offensive tackle walked by. Now, I'm sure you guys know a little bit about football. They're big. Offensive linemen tend to be very big. If you ever want to feel very small, stand next to a 6'8", 370-pound offensive tackle.
Jesus.
With low body fat. With low body fat.
well, Tom, this guy, they drafted him a couple years ago before he ever played any football. He was a rugby player from Australia. His name is Jordan Mailata. And they would show highlights of him playing rugby, and you see this 6'8", 370-pound man running the ball, and very agile for a man his size, and very strong. And guys trying to tackle him was actually human. I mean, this guy's built up a head of steam, and he's hitting people. So they decided to draft this guy in the 7th round. If he makes it, he makes it. If not, what do we lose? Just a 7th-round pick. They just signed him to a $60 million extension because he picked the football like a fish to water. And he's one of the best offensive tackles in the game now. Well, I stood next to the man, and I welcomed him and said, hey, how do you like being in Philadelphia? We're happy to have you. And he goes, I love being here. And I'm like, I bet this man can eat some cheesesteaks. You know? I'm going to send these photos to you guys tonight, and you guys are going to say, Jesus Christ. First of all, Tony's the only asshole that'll go to a meet and greet with a pizza box to get signed. And he looks really short next to the gigantic NFL offensive lineman.
Yeah, speaking of big and agile, the Eddie Hall versus Hafthor Bjornsson fight, better known as the Mountain, is coming up. Both guys are rip-roaring and ready for that one. And I've seen some pictures of the Mountain, actually. He's pretty trimmed up for that. Chiseled, as they would say. So we're going to see two big powerlifting dudes try to box each other at some point here this year, I think. I don't know when the official date is, but wild stuff. Anyway, guess that's all for us tonight. Next week we have James Hagler Jr. and Ryan Roach. Big interview for the Brockton area, Massachusetts folks.
Nice.
And the Hagler family, big time, and the Roach family, both, Marvin and Freddie. Marvin Hagler and Freddie Roach are the most famous ones of the family, but Ryan Roach has a company called Fighter Locker, and it's pretty much, New England based. But he's obviously in the same circles with my buddy from Norwich, Reyes Boxing, so we'll have to pick his brain on being in competition there, our connections to the area, and Goody. I'm sure you must have known or heard of Goody, both of them, Hagler and Roach. So we'll chat with them, and looking forward to that. Talk a little bit about Rocky Marciano, of course, and his Brockton roots. Tony won't mind that at all.
No, I might enjoy that.
Yeah. I know I'm going to have to tell the story that Goody told me of the first day that Marvin showed up. And, when you grow up with the legend of Marvin Hagler, and, I was too young to really remember, how he came up in his career. The big one for me was just the Sugar Ray Leonard fight. I tell everybody all the time, that was the first fight I ever put my own money on. I lost. I was sure that Hagler was going to beat up old Sugar Ray. And then, finding out the whole history behind how they set that fight up, specifically for, the right opportunity and time, and the ring was even the right size. I mean, there was a lot of manipulation done to make that kind of a home court advantage for Sugar Ray. But no excuses. I mean, Hagler tried, but just, judges weren't happy enough. Close fight, though, from what I remember, anyway. I was just so pissed afterwards. But the first day, Goody tells me that Hagler showed up at the gym. He actually got whooped pretty good. And, he was sat and moped there for a little bit outside the ring. And, it seems Goody didn't know whether he was going to show up the next day. But sure enough, showed up the next day, the day after that, and the day after that. And the rest is history. So, yeah. And one of the most bizarre things about the whole training regimen of Marvin, might have been a secret to his success. I caught a clip of him on YouTube doing some training down on Cape Cod. There's a lot of beach down on Cape Cod. I used to run them myself. Probably the longest runs I've ever done that were voluntary, not for cross-country practice. Because you could just get kind of swept away just running the beach. But anyway, Marvin used to do it with combat boots on. Running in the sand with combat boots. That's tough. I did a 17-mile rucksack march one time with combat boots, and I was feeling it for days. Bad shin splints, but he made it work. So anyway, we'll have to tell those stories and talk to them about their own stories growing up with a family legacy, and see how that goes. I'm sure it'll be a great interview. Two guys talking, we're probably not going to have much time to go through the results and previews. We have to be like the Micro Machines guy. Anyway, that's all for us tonight, and we'll see you next week with our double guest booking.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fights.
All right, guys.